The Gascogne Mu is an SR budget version of the PR French battleship Gascogne that was available during the crescendo of Polaris event. Gascogne Mu is the SR version of the PR battleship Gascogne, which herself was based off of the 4th ship of the Richelieu class of battleship. Gascogne is one of the 2 Richelieu class battleship that was cancelled, but unlike Clemenceau, which was laid down right on the same day as the launching of Richelieu using the same dock, Gascogne was never laid down and was completely cancelled because she had to wait for Jane Bart to be launched and vacate the dock that she was using, which happened after the Germans invaded France. Aside from being the only one to never have the chance to get laid down, Gascogne is also the only Richelieu class battleship that follows a different turret layout. Unlike the first 3 Richelieu, which has 2 quadruple turrets in AB layout configuration, Gascogne has 2 quadruple turrets in AX layout configuration, which is similar to the turret layout of the German Deutschland class cruisers. Despite the difference in rarity, Gascogne Mu is largely similar to the PR Gascogne in terms of stats, with the PR Gascogne only having an ever so slightly higher hit points, firepower and anti-air. Gascogne Mu has 7,851 hit points, 429 points in firepower and 237 points in anti-air. Unlike the PR Gascogne, Gascogne Mu only has 2 skills, 1 offensive type and 1 support type. Her offensive type skill is called Surbattant. Thank God I'm using a text-to-speech software in making this videos, otherwise I would have butchered all the French word in this video. That's why I hate dealing with French word. They have complex spellings that has a lot of silent letters that takes effort to write and spell, but are completely useless when it comes time to pronounce it. The skill Surbattant gives Gascogne Mu 2 salvos per reload, which she can aim and fire independently, and changes the main gun ammunition type to Mu shell and ignores the property of the original ammunition of the main gun. With this skill, Gascogne Mu also switches between red Mu shell, which is HE, and blue Mu shell, which is AP, with each salvo fired. Lastly, this skill also decreases the reload of Gascogne's first salvo by 25%, while the skill lists the shell damage as based on the skill level. Please do note that the overall damage output of each salvo still relies on the stats of the main gun equipped on her. This means that you can't put a T1 Scharnhorst gun on Gascogne Mu and expect her to do the same damage as when she has the Izumau gun equipped on her. Her support type skill is called Polaris Protocol. This skill grants a buff depending on the total number of Mu ships in your fleet. If you have an odd number of Mu ship in your fleet including Gascogne Mu, this skill will give Gascogne Mu a 12% damage buff. On the other hand, if you have an even number of Mu ships in your fleet, this skill decreases the damage that Gascogne Mu takes by 15%. Lastly, this skill gives 6% firepower, torpedo, and aviation buff to all your Mu ships after every time Gascogne Mu fires a salvo. This buff can be stacked up to 2 times and the buff lasts for 10 seconds. Now, onto her equipment. Normally, you can just pick a good gun that you put in a ship and just call it a day. However, that is not the case for Gascogne Mu. The reason for this is the condition for her Surbattant skill. The skill specifically states that the shell type switches between each salvo, and while most of the gun when mounted on Gascogne Mu only fires 2 single salvo, the quadruple 380mm main gun MLE 1935 aka the Jane Bart gun behaves differently. Unlike the other guns which will only fire 2 single salvos, the Jane Bart gun fires 2 dual salvos for a total of 4 salvos instead of 2 in other guns. This also means that with the Jane Bart gun equipped, Gascogne Mu gets to fire both shell types for each salvo. This works well when you are dealing with mob fleets that are composed of different ship types. This comes at the price, however, in exchange of being able to fire a total of 4 shell salvos, the Jane Bart gun gets shitty accuracy, which is typical of any quadruple guns, and one of the longest reload for any gun with the same tech level. Alternatively, if you only want Gascogne Mu to fire only 1 shell per aimed salvo, you can give her the prototype twin 406mm main gun SKC-34. If you want a rapid fire heavy hitting gun, or the prototype triple 410mm mounted gun, if you want a gun that hits harder, but at the exchange of a slightly longer reload. There are a lot of other guns that you can experiment on, but in the end, the things you have to look at are the reload time, salvo damage and spread range. You can completely ignore the shell type, since it's completely irrelevant for Gascogne Mew. For her secondaries, you can choose between CL and DD guns, but I recommend going for CL guns, because DD guns have lower damage. If you want to put CL guns for her secondaries, I recommend the triple 155mm mounted gun, or what is called by many players as Belfast gun, even though the gun was originally designed for the Mogami class, or the triple 152mm main gun aka the Cleave Bro gun. Both have good damage and fairly widespread range, which is ideal for secondary guns. If you want to give her DD gun, I recommend the twin 127mm Mark 12 dual gun because of its additional anti-air stats and long range. For anti-air, the twin 40mm Boffer Stug is a good option for her because it has good damage and an additional 10 point for accuracy, which is always a welcomed addition. Alternatively, you can also give her the quadruple 40mm Boffers gun or the twin 105mm AA gun SKC. The twin 113mm AA gun is also a good option. For her auxiliary, I recommend the Type 98 delayed firing device if you plan on giving her the Jane Bart gun to decrease the spread of your shells. You can also give her the tandem Type 1 piercing shell and super heavy shell if you plan on giving her the prototype twin 406mm main gun SKC-34 or the triple 410mm mounted gun. Though I think this tandem is not that useful to her, since she doesn't have any critical damage and chance skill like Jane Bart, so you can just go with the Type 1 piercing to get the best advantage of the damage buff from her Polaris protocol skill. For fleet arrangement, due to the nature of her skills, Gascogne Mew can be put in any fleet with any ships, as long as you put into consideration what kind of buff you want to get from Polaris protocol skill. If you want 12% additional damage, then you can sortie Gascogne Mew as the only Mew ship on your fleet, or together with other Mew ship, so that you will have an odd number of Mew ships in your fleet. On the other hand, if you want the 15% damage reduction, then you can sortie Gascogne Mew together with 1 or 3 other Mew ships, so you can get an even number of Mew ships in your fleet. That's it for this video, and as always, these are just my suggestion and everyone is free to either use it or ignore it. Well then, I will see you guys around.